So, yeah, can we just talk about this for a second? Because if you're building solo, SwiftUI, Xcode, hopping between Claude and Cursor, you already know this pain, right? Like every couple weeks, there's a new agent or some fresh AI tool, and suddenly you're supposed to drop another rules file into your repo. One day it's claude.md, next week it's cursor.md. Maybe you even tried that weird rules.md convention. And honestly, after a while, your project starts to look less like an iOS app and more like a markdown museum for confused bots. Sometimes I catch myself just staring at my folder structure thinking, wait, which one is actually doing anything? Why is Cursor skipping half my onboarding notes? Why does Claude keep inventing its own Swift style rules like it's auditioning for a new job? It's this endless cycle of repeating yourself, reteaching the same setup to every agent, and just hoping something sticks. And yeah, it's the kind of low level chaos nobody tweets about. But if you're in it, you feel it. But here's the kicker, this agents.md thing, for the first time, it kind of feels like someone's actually fixing the mess. Like maybe there's a world where you don't have to keep this giant pile of agent specific docs, just one file, one vibe, and finally, all the tools actually agree on the basics. If you're tired of that rules file bingo every time you launch a new session, this might finally be the answer. Real quick, I'm Daniel. I've been in the iOS game for almost 8 years, freelancing and shipping apps for other people. But since Dub 25, I've gone full solo dev, started building in public, and yeah, kind of figuring out this personal brand thing as I go. More on that for another one. So, yeah, let's just be real about this. If you're an indie iOS dev, drowning in rules files is kind of the new normal, right? Every AI tool you add, Claude, Cursor, OpenAI's latest, they all come with their own you better follow my format set of demands. One wants everything spelled out in claude.md. The next wants a totally different set of instructions in some buried config folder. And the third tool just invents its own way to read your notes. It's like onboarding a new junior dev every single week, except each one speaks their own language and none of them talk to each other. And it's not just some minor annoyance you can shrug off, it's actual workflow breaking friction. Like you finally get hyped about a new agent. You think maybe this one actually gets how I build Swift UI apps. And then 5 minutes in, you're buried in a pile of half familiar markdown files, trying to remember which one matters, which one the bot is actually reading, and where the heck you're supposed to put your real setup notes. Sometimes I open my repo and just laugh. Did I really write the same onboarding rules for 3 different bots in 3 different formats? Yeah, apparently I did. And honestly, it's not even the tool builder's fault. Everyone's shipping fast, trying to help out solo devs like us. And yeah, the last thing on anyone's mind is, hey, let's all agree on one standard. But what it means for us, the ones who are actually in Xcode every day, wrangling Swift UI, patching up bugs with a little AI backup, is that our workflow just gets more cluttered, not less. I saw this tweet the other day, and you've probably seen it too. And it just nailed the feeling this is madness. What are we doing? And yeah, I felt that. If you're juggling even 2 or 3 tools, you're living that madness right now. And here's what actually changed. And yeah, it's kind of wild for once. Basically, a bunch of the big names, OpenAI, Cursor, Google Jules, Rucode, Factory, like pretty much everyone except the one you're probably using right now, all got together and agreed, let's just use a single file. That's it. Drop one file at the root of your repo, and suddenly all these agents finally agree to read from the same playbook. And for solo devs, this is kind of a dream. No more digging through a stack of markdowns just to figure out, wait, is it claude.md today, or is it rules.md, or did cursor sneak in its own format again? You finally set your instructions once, and every agent actually listens, or at least most of them do. And yeah, real talk, Claude's still out here marching to its own drum with claude.md. But honestly, the more all these other tools start playing nice, the weirder it gets for anyone to be the odd one out. So if you've ever gotten burned switching agents, and suddenly your carefully written onboarding notes just disappear, this agents.md thing really does feel like the start of something different, a little less chaos, a little more flow, finally. So yeah, here's where it actually gets kind of useful. Agents.md isn't just another README you write once and forget. It's like half a bot instruction manual and half a future use survival guide. Because if you're anything like me, you come back to an old project after a few months and yeah, everything's gone. The whole context just leaks out of your brain. So now, instead of playing detective every time you reopen a repo, agents.md is the one place you drop all your real setup notes, how to run your weird homebrew install, which Xcode version you actually need, where your Firebase config lives, all of it. And it's not just environment stuff. You want your test commands in there, your build steps, your Swiftlint rules, especially the ones you actually care about, not just whatever ships in the template. Sometimes I even paste in those don't break this reminders or security stuff I wish I could tattoo onto every agent's forehead. It's the same kind of stuff you'd write in a Slack to onboard a junior dev, except now the bot actually listens. And it's just markdown, plain headings, code blocks, a few bash lines, whatever feels natural. No YAML, no weird config, nothing to fight with. The best part is, every agent that's on board, they finally read it without drama. And if your project is a beast, like you've got a widget target or a separate little CLI tool, you just drop extra agents.md files into those folders too. The agent always reads the closest one so nothing gets missed. No more, oh wait, it was looking at the wrong doc, which honestly saves so much pain. It really does feel like a README, but it's for your bots and for the you that's going to be debugging this at 2 a.m. 3 months from now. It's less about showing off, more about shipping. And finally, you're not starting over every time you swap tools or jump back into a side project. And honestly, this is the part that surprised me. Migration is actually not a headache for once. Like, if you've already been living that claude.md or cursor.md life, or maybe you've got some random tool-specific doc from last year, you literally just rename it. No, really, just call it AGENTS.md, leave it in the same spot, and that's it. Suddenly, all the agents that support the new standard just see your instructions, no drama, and you don't have to go all in and delete everything else on day one if you want to run both for a while. Totally fine. But the less you duplicate yourself, the less time you spend syncing random docs, and the more you just code. Especially if you're bouncing between side projects or picking up client work every other month, this is the kind of invisible upgrade that just saves your brain. Fewer little paper cuts, less mental overhead, and finally your workflow just starts to feel lighter. So yeah, this is where things get interesting, right? Because if you've ever shipped a big project or just cracked open a massive repo like OpenAI's, you'll see they've got agents.md files everywhere. Like, not just one at the top. We're talking dozens sprinkled through sub-projects, different folders, every little corner that needs its own playbook. And honestly, that's kind of genius. Each agent just reads the nearest agents.md, so you keep your rules scoped to exactly where they matter. No more worrying about your top level widget rules accidentally leaking into your backend setup or vice versa. It's all local, all intentional. And yeah, if you're the kind of dev who lives and dies by test-driven workflows, this is huge. You can literally drop your test commands right into agents.md and the agent can go off, run your tests, even try to fix the failures before you even get back from your coffee run. Suddenly, it's not just static docs. You're getting actual automation baked in, saving you from those late night wait, why did this break? Debug sessions. It's kind of wild how much friction that shaves off. And the best part, you're still the boss. If you ever want to override what's in agents.md, for those weird edge cases where you just need to bend the rules, your chat prompt always wins. So you never lose control, even if the file says otherwise. It's flexible, it's predictable, and honestly, for once, it feels like these agent tools are finally working with you, not just at you. So, yeah, let's zoom out for a second, because if you're building solo, juggling SwiftUI, Xcode, Claude, Cursor, the whole bag of indie tricks, agents.md is honestly about buying back your brain power. It's just less time repeating yourself, less time reteaching the same workflow to every tool, and way less ramp up pain when you haven't touched a project in a month. Instead of playing which file does this bot actually read, or wait, what's my setup again? You finally have one doc, one source of truth, and man, that just means you spend more time actually shipping features and way less time fighting the tools. And yeah, not every agent's caught up yet. Claude's still out here doing its own thing. But honestly, you can feel the tide turning. The more we treat these docs like legit onboarding, not just a sticky note for bots, but a real handoff between you, your tools, and future you, the more these agents actually start to feel like teammates, not just vending machines that spit out code when you beg for help, but real helpers that actually know your world. And that's the kind of boring but beautiful progress that as a solo dev you really start to appreciate. So yeah, I mean, is agents.md going to solve every agent headache overnight? Probably not. It's still a little wild west out there, and there's always some new tool doing its own thing. But honestly, just having one doc, one set of rules, a little less chaos every time you open your repo, that's the first time in a while this whole rules file mess actually feels kind of hopeful. And, if you've got your own stories, weird hacks, or just need to vent about agent chaos, seriously, drop it in the comments. I read everything, and honestly, it's wild hearing what's working or totally flopping for other solo devs trying to piece this stuff together. If any of this saved you time, made you laugh, or just made your workflow a little less painful, toss a like, subscribe, or send it to another indie dev who's in the trenches with us. Indie life isn't easy, but hey, at least we can swap the little wins and war stories as we go. And yeah, that's it from me. Go build something strange and let me know if agents.md actually changes your day to day. Peace.